All right, this is part three of the Republican debates. I believe we left off at 40 minutes. I got it, pulled the video up, and it's paused right where I left off at, so that's good. I don't have to search around and look for it. Although I knew the timestamp that I left off at last time. So just gonna get into the rest of the debate. We got this part. We got one more part left. I mean, I'll try to fit everything into two more parts. This one and the next one. If not, we might have one extra part. Not a big deal. Um, I don't even remember like what topic we left off at, but let's just see.
Shortage. Retirements are up, recruitment is in the tank, morale is at a record low. 3 years ago, you signed a pledge to support law enforcement. Now, pledges are a nice idea, but what's your actual plan to get more police on our streets?
Well, and I actually did it in South Carolina too. You know, what we knew in South Carolina was you take care of those who take care of you. We have to start taking care of law enforcement, but it's not just taking care of them with words. It's making sure that you also follow through on what they do. Right now, we have a lot of stolen guns on the street. Well, these law enforcement officers, they arrest these people and then they go and they're let out the very next day. So law enforcement feels like they don't, no one has their back. We have to start prosecuting according to the law. We have to make sure we have the backs of law enforcement, and we have to make sure that we're a country of law and order. But I want to go back to China because I don't think we spent enough time on that. Right now, we have to look at what government's doing to hurt us against China, too. You have a company, U.S. Antibiotics, that produces amoxicillin, the number one antibiotic that we need. And right now, there is a company in Bristol, Tennessee, that produces that. Yet our federal government only gets it from China. We need to be focusing on companies that produce in America and supporting those companies that produce in America, not companies that are helping China.
Governor, we will be talking.
Okay, I really wish these candidates would stay on topic, but because crime is actually they should have talked about that first in this debate, because that's the most pressing issue that we're facing right now. Granted, China is an issue too, but I believe not as big as crime is in this country right now. Our own criminals are more a threat to U.S. citizens right now than anybody in China right now. But I agree with what Haley said about um, we don't just need to bring we don't just need more police. We need um, support when we bring in more police. Because what's the use of bringing in more cops and we're just going to continue to treat them the way we treat them? That's not going to solve any issue. We're just going to keep penalizing officers for just doing their job, and labeling them as, racist and um, as using like excessive force. Um, that's not going to help anything. That's not going to help anybody. So if we're going to bring more police, great. There's some cities that need more cops, because just take Chicago as an example. We're saying all the time that um, cops are having a hard time. Like, I'm not sure if they're having a hard time recruiting people, but a lot of cops have left since the pandemic because of rising crime, and they're just working too many hours. I mean, I've talked about this before, but if we're gonna bring more cops, that's we need to start treating them right if they're going to stay on the force and continue doing their job. Because if they got criminals against them, they already got enough against them. They got the criminals, and then then they've got the city against them. Then that's just too much. It's unnecessary. So, um, and also let's just talk about bring more cops in as a solution, uh, because they're already doing everything that they can. I mean, besides the fact that there might be a shortage of police officers on the force, the ones that are already on the force are just overwhelmed, just doing everything that they can, and they're not getting any help from the courts, not getting any help from politicians. um, and yeah, not getting any help at all. So, like I said, the system's messed up. If we're gonna, bring more cops in, we also have to fix our justice system, uh, our court system, and as far as our politicians is concerned, they need to be stepping up and doing more because they see what's going on. So,
Policy later. Daniel?
Thank you, Stuart. We're going to stay in the topic of crime because it affects all of us. Governor Burgum, for the first time ever, a Univision poll found that mass shootings and gun safety are one of the most important issues for Latino voters. Mental health concerns are not unique to the United States, but gun violence is. What is your specific plan to curb gun violence?
Well, first we need to know and understand is I think that the liberal left seems to be just completely bent on prosecuting law-abiding citizens that are gun owners, because every solution they have to this is take away the Second Amendment rights of Americans, and somehow that's going to solve the problem. But all these cities that we're talking about, they showed the videos of tonight, they have some of the strictest gun laws in the country. So we know that that's not what's working. What we have to do is get back to the core issues about the family. We have to get back to behavioral health and mental health. We've got to get back to actually enforcing the laws these people talked about. And like we've done in North Dakota, where we've got the goal and we're on the track to be the most military-friendly state in the nation. We've got the most military and the most support of what we're doing in terms of law enforcement, because the morale is down because we've been defunding the police because they've been attacked in the press. The police have become the bad guys when they're the one. There's all these jobs available in America. Why would you be a policeman if people don't even respect them? Every time I see a policeman, the first thing I say is thank you. And so does everybody else in my family and most of the people in our state, because they know we have to respect the people that are out there defending us every single day.
What could you not?
okay, I gotta add. So I agree. This is where I disagree with Republican conservatives when it comes to guns and gun control, and just the gun issue in general, mass shootings, everything. I disagree when it comes to the solutions to this issue. And again, I've spoken about this in previous videos. I believe when I was talking about when I wanted to run for mayor and the issue, the stance that I had on some issues, this is where I lean more to the left than the right when it comes to gun control. That we need more and not less gun control. But I do agree, with everything else he said, we need to focus on other things besides guns, because even though we need to focus just not strictly on the gun, but on, like you said, behavioral health and families, the family structure, and yeah, that's all important to curb gun violence. It's not just solely the gun itself. So I do agree with that, but I don't agree that I just don't agree with Republicans saying that, oh, we're just, the liberals are just all after law-abiding citizens. I don't believe that's the case, because it's not law-abiding citizens that are doing these mass shootings. It's not law-abiding citizens who are, are doing this, are acting on this gun violence. It's not them. So when you have some states that say that you don't have to have a permit to own a gun, and when you have some states that say that don't really place emphasis on background checks before they issue guns to people, or even mental health checks, that should become a thing too, along with background checks, because that's just as important, if not more important. Because if you're not in a good mental state and you're carrying a gun and you get into an argument with somebody, you just straight up shoot them, even if they're unarmed, then that's illegal, and that's an issue. And if your mental health condition is what caused you to do that, then that's why we need mental health checks in addition to background checks when it comes to owning a gun. So I agree that it's not just the gun that's the issue, but I disagree with I disagree with, and I agree with the alternative solutions, but I disagree with like the conservative approach overall to gun control. Um, if we're seeing like mass shootings going up and gun violence going up on the streets, it's counterproductive and it doesn't make sense to have less gun control instead of more gun control. I mean, that's just common sense. Um, what else? So yeah, I mean, my approach to like um, lessening gun violence would, I mean, pretty much what I just said, like more gun control, more legislation that'll um, take guns out of the wrong hands and make sure they're in the right hands. But like I said, if I had it my way, then the Second Amendment would be abolished because um, I believe the interpretation of the Constitution said that only the military, law enforcement um, have the authority to carry firearms. The public should not be. The public should not be carrying firearms at all, whether they're trained or not. It's that's if I had it my way. Um, then I believe we would see now. Of course, like people could still get guns illegally as they do now. Even with all the restrictions, people always find a way around the laws and the rules. Um, but if we actually had, if there was actually a law um, put in place that people couldn't carry guns, and then there are penalties for that, then I believe there will be a minute group of people who would try to find a way around that. But I believe, well, I don't know, maybe the majority would stand up against that, protest that. Um, but anyway, for now, the more reasonable approach would be to have restrictions placed so that the wrong people don't get, so that guns are in the wrong hands. I'm going to skip this ad. Back to the debate. We're almost at 45 minutes into it now.
Can I answer the question on
Mr.
mass shooting?
Mr. Ramaswamy, according to Customs and Border Protection, about 90% of fentanyl is seized at official border crossings, and 57% of the smugglers are U.S. citizens. How would you stop fentanyl